regarding interpretation.
Yeah.
There are several schools of thoughts that say that language informs one's brain structure, and language, in fact, informs one's ability to interpret. Not only due to the cultural significance that language has to it, but also due to the structures within the words themselves. Often, when we talk about something, we assign it to words, and our ability to interpret are still within the structure and the paradigm of that language. Thoughts?
Yes. Because we can't comprehend, at least I'm currently reading The Way of Zen by Alan Watts, and in the book it says that Western ideas of growing, or the aspect of being a part of a process is viewed very different in the West than it is in the East, because the Eastern view is very holistic. There's a very unpersonal point of view in being a part of the society. Meanwhile, in the West, we are very ego driven. We are very parts instead of a parcel. Something that we weren't able to talk about last time was biblical interpretations, because Cass was unfortunately not able to make it. So
Hello.
biblical interpretations are very varied, because you have not only the different branches of Christianity, but within those branches of Christianity you can have subjective interpretation within the letter itself. So at least at this moment, I kind of wanted to pass it over to you, Cass, because you have more of this stuff on hand.
Sure. It's the same for most, in fact, most either religious, occult, theological, however you would like to specifically categorize it. These texts concerning the metaphysical. A lot of these texts are not in their original language. And so interpretation not only has to be applied via translators as to how to convey these into the current language that you speak, but additionally, you also must consider that the transliteration of the language, like from the speaker onto the page, is meant to be then interpreted by the reader. That in itself has several layers of interpretation with it that are interesting. And additionally, there's also the fact that it is likely the case that, at least for the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Bible, the Law, the Pentateuch, these are likely not written originally in Hebrew. Likely they're written in a much older language. And so what we have to ask ourselves is, what exactly are we interpreting? Are we interpreting the English language? Are we interpreting the English words? For example, in the King James Bible, there is the word abide. In modern English, abide generally will mean to stay with, often in reference to not wanting to be with. However, if you pair this with a 16th century Oxford dictionary, which Oxford was specifically the place that standardized the English language in the 16th century when the 1611 translation of the King James Bible came out, the word abide means to reside in, to reside inside of, to have a home. When you go back to the Greek, it also means to basically make your home in. But here's the other thing, is when you go back to the Hebrew, it is actually literally talking about being within a house or being within a tent. And that's where these words come from. But the problem is that there is an interpretation that has gone around that literally takes the abide and applies it to the modern version of it, which means to stay with, often in the case, as in modern English, of not actually wanting to. And we see this interpretation and this telephone game being played throughout time with language. For example, another one in the Bible, the word repent. Originally, the word is shub, which means to put your face back towards your home. The other word is teshuvah, which basically means the same thing, to put your face back. You put your face back towards your home, where you belong, inside of the enclosure safely. In the Greek, the Koine Greek, the word is metanoia. Metanoia is meta, which means to transcend, go above, go beyond. Noia comes from nous, which means mind. Okay, so it means to transcend your mind, or afterthought, literally, or it can mean change your mind. In the 4th century Latin Vulgate, it was specifically translated to penitentiam agate, which means to do penance. A lot of people now have the idea that repentance is to do penance, to make amends for a wrong. That is not what the word means. Through ancient texts, this also is true. For example, in the book of Enoch, which is an apocryphal text, the Nag Hammadi library, also within several of the alchemical texts. So the science in School of Alchemy, alchemy has a paradigm interpretation problem. There is a Western view of alchemy, which primarily teaches the idea of either laboratory alchemy or lead gold alchemy, the idea of transmutation from objects, and everything is viewed through this lens. There is the Indian version of alchemy, and it's shared by some other cultures, but I'm not quite well read on this exact specific paradigm. But I believe it is called the Kundalini, if I'm not mistaken. And then there is the Eastern paradigm for alchemy, which is specifically filtered through the idea of tinctures or potions, or whatever word you would like to use for imbibing a liquid. So these paradigms exist as forms of interpretations of these religious, theosophical, or occult texts, these metaphysical texts that and this is basically an idea of like the telephone game, right? Like this is the interpretation. And so we can see that this prevails throughout everything. Not only that, but there's also translation issues. For example, we've talked about the Bible translation issues. We also have to talk about the interpretation language issues that come from, like, for example, let's say if we say that Crowley interprets his lens upon the Keys of Solomon. So like things such as who is translating this, why are they translating it, and is the translation an interpretation? Well, obviously yes, but how accurate is that? So it's very interesting there. Anyway, so that brings me to the end of my points. Go ahead.
I'd like to talk about interpretation for a second, though, if you're interested.
Yes, I would love.
I don't know if any of you have heard about semiotics, but the idea of signs and symbols, the way in which this is a framework for interpretation. It is treating things like words as symbols, as signs that we then have to interpret into symbols in our minds, and we have some sort of symbolic conceptual language that we work off of. And so, as Cass mentioned, there's layers to interpretation, even just in the act of us reading the words off of the page. Words, the sign that a word is can have many related meanings, many symbolic meanings with it. And particularly in metaphysical texts, a lot of the time those symbols can be complex, and without some context, without the historical context, without an understanding how language has changed over time, that's going to change, like, what meaning that you derive from those symbols. I got kind of interested in it because of psychology, I guess, because the same set of words can mean two completely different things to two completely different people.
Are we talking about the sign, the signifier, and the signified and the signifier, that sort of thing?
Yes. So, is this part of Jungian psychology, correct? Symbols?
Lacanian.
And
Lacanian,
archetypes?
later, even.
Lacanian. Okay.
Jacques Lacan is a French psychoanalyst, and a lot of people, not, he's controversial,
6'7".
let's say. Yeah.
Yeah.
The idea that there is a signifier and there is that which is signified, and how sometimes that connection is a lot more real to someone, particularly if like your symbolic framework of a set of ideas, like if your metaphysics is already crystallized, is already like a complete formation, then you may not even see all of the other meanings, all of the other signifiers that a sign carries with it, you know? This is the minefield that we do interpretation in.
And just like just a quick anecdotal experience, like a couple of years ago I was fired from a job I really liked, and as soon as I got fired from that job I went home and started cleaning my home, and in the middle of my room was a big green jade beetle. And in psychology and like symbology, the green beetle is like a symbol of transformation, a symbol of good fortune, a symbol of change. And it was absolutely one of those, like, as much as things are terrible, because of this interpretation in the moment of seeing the synchronicity of the symbology within this experience, I am now having an emotional elation in the ability to process things through a different lens in the exact moment that I'm experiencing it, so I can have two simultaneously interpretations that I believe both are real. Like, yes, my life is terrible, I got fired from a job, but also my life is full of wonder and mysticism, and I'm literally receiving a symbol from the universe that things aren't always as they seem. And that's where the practical application of having an open idea to interpretation, having an idea of alchemy and what you can do to regulate your biology to allow for you to do that more consistently. And that comes down to what your sleep habits are, what your reading habits are. Literally, how do you think on a daily basis? How do you interpret things on a regular basis? When someone cuts you off in traffic, what is your reaction to it? Do you get angry, or do you just go like, oh, okay, they needed that spot? It really is. You can remove a lot of personal strife just by having this analytical lens of interpretation. And that's kind of why I'm having this conversation, is because yeah, you're personally really angry. No, it's okay.
Right up, come on.
Hi, Zippy.
Hello. Hello.
Welcome, Zippy. We're talking about interpretation.
Oh, there we go. Cool.
Very high down earlier.
Pardon? No, I just got back on after being gone for a weekend, so no, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
He didn't do it. You can't prove it.
Well, I think interpretation is not as simple of a subject as it seems, and really does mix multiple realms of what experience is and how subjective it actually gets. So I'm kind of at a spot where, like, this is where the limits of my notes are. Like, I'm genuinely, like, I feel like I'm on the precipice of understanding truly how to express interpretation so it's able to be received. Like, and I think this is an element of communication as well. Like, how well can you communicate your interpretation of an experience so that others can abide by your interpretation? Like, and we abide by the law not because we want to follow the speed limit, but because it is the status quo, is what is regularly accepted. So, like, it is a complicated process that we just do innately in daily life and are rarely aware of it.
Footnote here, I think you're mistaking interpretation for perception.
To that, I would ask the question, do we believe that it is possible to explain something, which is what is interpreting, without being able to perceive it?
You could try.
Yeah.
Also, I wasn't trying to hit you with the arm actually earlier. Sorry about that.
Okay, so black box. Black box is where you have something that you cannot perceive. You cannot say what is in the box, but you have access at least to its output. So you can observe its output and then theorize what's going on inside. But if you could also control the inputs, control the variables, as in a scientific experiment, then you can, do a little bit more work there. But that's basically what a scientific experiment is a well-formed method for dealing with that, the thing we cannot see directly.
The domain and the range.
Like, I'll give you an example. Like, we know, or we think that there is a supermassive black hole in the center of the galaxy by observing the effect of the orbits of the suns around it, or the stars around it. Because they would not be moving that fast without that gravity, whirling them around. So the gravity is an output. The effect on the orbits is an output, but we can't see the thing itself.
We can understand that there is a cause by seeing an effect of something that we don't know, but we still know that there is a cause, even if we can't perceive that mechanism or what it is. We know that something causes an action.
So there's your answer, Esty. This is used in engineering and science, and it's the essence of occultism.
Well, cause and effects are just kind of complex semiotics, aren't they not? We are assuming a lot of things about cause.
This is a model. This is a way of thinking about things. And dealing with
The map is not the territory.
That's not the issue.
So just because you have a method of navigating and expressing what it is doesn't mean you're inherently expressing the fullest of its nature.
But
and that's a limitation of language.
You can come up with some explanations, some consistent, relation between input and output, right? So that's an explanation without something we cannot perceive to answer SC's question. I stepped up to that one.
Oh, so the question isn't how are we able to make determinations and interpretations without being able to directly perceive something. The question was, is it possible to not have a semiotic perception of a thing, which is what we're describing by trying to...
Could you not use the word semiotic and bring it down to like my brain wall?
I'm not talking about the idea of how do we find things. I was talking about, is it possible for a person to explain something if they have no concept of it?
That's not what you said. You said perceive.
Perception in this case, what I'm explaining by using the word perception is that you have perceived,
all right,
and therefore
I'll buy it. Just
try to comprehend.
All right, so in this model, you have no idea of what's actually in there. You are creating your own model based on the relation between inputs and outputs. So
I'm aware of what you're saying.
Have an idea of what the thing is. You just know that you put in input A and you get
I fully understand what you have told me before.
These
You
are
do
like
not need to
puppies.
reiterate. I fully understand what you've said. I don't need a reiteration. You're missing what I'm saying. I'm talking about a thought experiment.
Okay.
This is in the realm of philosophy.
The realm of science and engineering and occultism.
What I'm right, that's what you're posing. I'm posing
what makes
a
it different?
philosophical different topic. It's fine. Let's move on.
Does philosophical mean it doesn't have to make sense?
We'll move on to a different topic. So then, in that case, I guess the next place to take this would be if interpretation is informed by experience, which we've basically determined that has to be the case. then the question is it possible to fully understand another person's interpretation?
I would say that's a pointless question. But at least, though its only use is I'm sorry, did I interrupt? Were you going to end?
No. I accidentally paused the music.
Practically, for practical purposes, get the idea of what people mean by what they say, what their meaning is, their interpretation.
Oh, please excuse me. Someone's at my door. BRB.
We do it all the time.
So, what you're posing, in this sense,
with for practical purposes.
Yes. So, if we have, say, let's take a Christian that's never studied Hinduism. Let's say this Christian one day just meditates and somehow activates Kundalini and has a mystical experience with a Hindu god. What words would that Christian be able to use? Well, okay, let's just play with the idea real quick. Like,
what words?
Well, okay, what words
would
that
has an experience
Christian...
from somebody who has only, horse and buggies.
Kinda. Something like that. It's
something
like
simpler, That's my point. To imagine the gods and stuff, that's too much work.
Well, it's not about imagining the gods. It's about imagining an experience that is completely contrary to your entire life narrative. That is completely contrary to everything you believe. How are you to interpret that outside of trying to twist your experience to fit the narrative? Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so done.
So that cognitive dissonance does not allow for us to not have the ability to fully understand the interpretation that we receive from another person as though it were personal experience. We don't have the neurochemical capability of fully...
Somebody goes, sorry, I have a bad habit of interrupting, but I had a great example. But go ahead.
Yeah, just say what you're going to say.
Have you ever been in a social situation where somebody points, not that guy? Would you volunteer? Nah. Okay, phantom guy over here. That guy over there, that guy's trouble, right? Trouble. And you're like, he doesn't look like trouble. And then he turns out to be trouble.
Yeah.
You know exactly what he means by trouble. But you just didn't believe it. So you did get the interpretation.
So what if you didn't didn't grasp the interpreation? No, I don't think so.
Well, no. If you go,
I just think you're opinionated.
That's when you don't. Come on, I'm trying to make a repetition here.
I don't think that's a bad thing either. I think it's important for people to have the ability to stand and be like, I disagree.
Here's a better question: why wouldn't you be able to? In a lightly example, how would you throw a monkey wrench in that specifically?
How would you not be amicable? You mean?
No. How would you throw a monkey? Okay, so person A has an interpretation, an explanation of things, right? Right. Person B, right, is listening to the interpretation to get the meaning, correct?
Yeah.
It's got to be something that's practical, but how would you throw a monkey wrench in that?
Hello. Hi. I mean, you could dismiss the view. You could not take the subjective accounting as it is their subjective experience, but you could take it as they are intentionally, you could presuppose that they are lying. You could presuppose that they're twisting the narrative. And then once again, that comes down to your interpretation and your experience that leads you to what leads you to your interpretation, what leads you to your current ability to distinct what is your experience.
I was looking into the monkey wrench, but what you said is fun. Okay, so you got person A, right, who has claim A or interpretation, we'll call it 1, right?
I apologize.
Before person B can receive interpretation 1, after the utterance of interpretation 1, you say that guy's full of shit, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what you said. You could deny that it was true.
So this is once again, you can use your words to debate the ideas, but how can we use subjective experience to prove any claim? Any claim.
Well, another example.
And outside of mathematics, I don't know of any realm that has asserted proofs that, at least in my subjective knowledge, that can be verified without bias, because numbers are just numbers. They don't have inherent information that can be misconstrued.
Not true. Mathematics has proved that 0.999, right, is indeed 1.
How?
But that's not true.
No.
There's a very specific reason this calculation occurs.
To 999.
But there are mathematical proofs for it.
Where?
So are you talking about the, like, I know what you're talking about. It's not true entirely in every form of mathematics that 0.09999984456, like, no, that is true.
No, it's just
like I've studied this specific topic very in depth, because 1 and 0, this binary structure, is something that under mathematic tools such as binary systems does not allow for the decimal points, right? But this, once decimal points are, well, and this is where that precision error is a result of the system that is used to calculate between 0 and 1, not in principle the actual system of 0 and 1.
No,
it is the mathematics system used, not the actual holistic, like the number identity of 0 and 1.
You mean arithmetic?
Yes.
Because that's what's used. The mathematical system of arithmetic.
But there are different systems of arithmetic.
Okay, do you know what a precision error is?
And the one you're referencing is a coding error.
No, but so you have looked into it. It's definitely something you have to deal with when you program, because certain variables can only.
Yeah, it's a programming error. It's not an error with actual mathematics. It's an error with coding.
Never mind. I see you're committed to your level of knowledge.
Well,
I happen to be a programmer. So.
Have you done Dragon?
Mathematics, there's different kinds of results that are congruent, rounded.
Precision error is why Gandhi goes batshit in civilization. What?
When you divide, do you create a remainder, or do you keep computing until you have a decimal? Different don't require a different answer.
Well, the precision of a number is how many spaces it has from.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
Well,
precision means quantum.
Popular meme
I'm done.
in the modern day.
Well, I think that's fair.
3 2/3 is 0.6.
I don't know. I don't believe that.
But it's 0.999.
In this case, it's quite true. What?
Right. So it's different domains that.
But the whole idea that math is absolute is we made it up.
You
know.
I think that math and patterns are something that transcend something that is created. I think it is something observed. I think it's something inherent to the expression that is energy. Like, I think all things, Nikola Tesla, Nikola Tesla with the idea of energy, frequency, vibration. Like, all of these things are coincidental to the expression of quarks and the density of atoms, and we fundamentally are 99 point something percent space, right? But it's only because of light. It is only because of the atomic structures and the bonding between them. Kind of. But
it's like Godzilla, and then
it's an interpretation of
my car is breaking down, and then like like I don't know, Jung and Freud. I don't know. It's all related to them. I'm just saying, I'm clearly not smart enough to understand it.
Well, it's just the idea that everything is an interpretation of a matrix, and whatever this energy matrix is, whatever the universe fundamentally is something that is calculated by electrochemical signals.
Oh, wait, I did.
And those signals are it's just everything is carried out by that basis, and it's all in the habits of our thought, our emotions that allow for our interpretation to become I guess amicable. Well, yeah. Well, okay. I don't know where we're at in the conversation, to be fair.
Yeah. Okay. I can't follow. You've outbrained me.
I didn't mean to. I apologize.
That's okay. I'm not as drunk as I should be. So, that's a goal.
That is fair.
I'm reducing my intelligence. Normally, I'm sharp as a tack, but tonight I'm dumb. You heard me make that retarded sound earlier.
You're enjoying yourself, and that's fine.
I'll take that interpretation.
That one?
Yeah, I'm enjoying this.
Okay, cool. Despite the interruptions and the getting off track a couple times, I do think this conversation... Yeah, I think this conversation went a lot smoother and more involved than the last one. The last one was a lot more chaotic, and there was like half as many people.
Was that like tonight, or was that last session?
It's 2 weeks ago. These conversations are bi-weekly. Yeah. Okay. And I am uncertain what next week the next conversation is going to be on, but I do feel like interpretation has kind of like, at least at this moment, I am kind of hit a wall in what my limit of interpretation and my dialogue that I want to have on it has hit. Oh, hello, Vader.
Guten Abend. What's up? How you doing?
Hey, you feeling okay?
But
I'm pretty good.
All right, so
kind of want to cover some Bible verses real quick on interpretation, because these are ideas that you floated, and Cass, and well, I floated one of them. This one was Matthew 6:19-24. Let me pull this back up.
Okay, I'm trying not to guess.
6.
It's not important. 95% alcohol.
19-24.
I can light my breath on fire.
King James Version. All right. Ah, yeah. So it's this one. Okay. So, lay not for yourselves treasures upon the earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, where their thieves break through and steal. But lay yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, where thieves do not break in through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The light of the body is the eye. Therefore, if thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. And if thine eye be evil, thy whole body shall be full of darkness. And if therefore the light is in thee be darkness, how great is this darkness? No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve God and mammon.
Is this all sequential?
Yes, this is all sequential. This is Matthew 6, 9 through 24. 19 through 24.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So, these verses, more specifically, the verse in the middle, the light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. To someone who interprets it through a Eastern, whether that be a Buddhist or a Hindu lens, they could say that is the third eye chakra. That is the single eye that allows the body to perceive into these higher dimensions of vibration, these higher experiences of interpretation. And there's also interpretation of if your intentions are pure, your heart will be pure, your actions will be pure. The way you conduct yourself will reflect what is in your heart. And once again, it's an interpretation, and I kind of want to scratch your mind on this since you actually have studied this a little bit.
Sure.
What's another interpretation that these could be?
So, okay, so the biblical interpretation with this would basically, if you compare the scriptures, what you're going to get is that that which you look at is what you like form a covenant with. Right. This is about like covenant theology, right? Now, the light in this case, in 22, the word that's used there is actually laiknos, which technically means lamp, not exactly light. Now, so what it says directly is the lamp of the body is the eye. If therefore is the eye of you clear,
put your fingers together to say yeah.
The whole body of you full of light will be.
That's what I do.
So this is also like, again, what we talked about like how words change depending on the language, and culture also informs interpretation. Now, remember that lamps back then have a whole different cultural connotation than the way that we would view them today. So, yes, when you get into interpretation with stuff like this, you are going to have because of how many transliterations this is going through, you're going to have several different telephone games happening. Not to mention that this is currently written in Koine Greek. However, it is likely that either this was spoken in Aramaic, which has its own cultural connotations, or this was spoken in Hebrew, which has its own cultural connotations. And not to mention that, but everybody that is specifically speaking here, regardless of language, is specifically of Jewish origin, which means that their version of lamp, their version of light, their version of this is what is being applied and then transliterated. And now we're translating that again into English. So this is a massive intersection of interpretation that we're getting into here. So yeah, very interesting, like how you see how this all kind of like comes together. One of the things that I will also say though is that there is something very unique that the Bible does have, which we might cover in the verses upcoming, is parables. Parables are considered to mostly survive translation because they discuss ideas rather than like technicalities. So
Yeah.
very interesting that. Anyway, I will end it there.
Yeah, I would suppose that parables are harder to misconstrue as they, in a sense, like describe archetypal realities that, like, despite how you interpret it, the story in the main context is preserved because of the way that it's shared. Like for instance, like astrology, the signs of the zodiac, the symbols that represent our understanding of our place in the universe, is basically transnational. All of us like have some sense of the zodiac and the transitions between those you know, celestial archetypes.
I just wanted to pop in and say hi.
Okay. Thanks for coming by, man. Yeah.
Okay.
So that bit about the light, about the eye. Would you read that again? Just that part, because it made me think of something.
You should go check on your friends.
Yeah. Okay. I'll just read the 5 verses again. Lay not yourself up treasures upon the earth where moth and rust doth corrupt, but where. Oh well, okay. I said I was reading the.
Eye is the light of the body.
Okay. For where your treasure is, your heart will be also. The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light.
If that what be single?
Thine eye be single.
Hold on, let me look this up.
In the Greek,
I'll get back to that.
Matthew 6:19.
so
Matthew
again,
6,
this is a
22.
translation thing. In the Greek, the word is haplaus, which means clear, not single.
But what word was?
Yeah.
Okay, so the word
if your intent
single
is clear. Yeah.
is clear.
What was the question?
No. So the word that was translated from what?
So
From clear. What is clear in Koine Greek?
haplaus.
Was put in place for single.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it means
So
clear.
The version I got.
So if your eye is clear, is what it's saying.
New international version, right?
Like your
So
sight,
the
what
eye
you're
is the light
seeing.
of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. If your eyes are unhealthy, the whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? I present to you this. What do you see? What's the first thing? What's the first thing? 3 things you see?
Cipher.
What is this?
It's a puzzle.
It's not a
Cipher.
puzzle. It's not a
3
cipher.
words you saw.
What's the first 3? Yeah, you see.
Hope.
Yep.
Special.
Okay.
Pure.
Cool. What about you? City?
Rot.
I present to you this.
Yes. The first 3.
I'm looking something up.
Yeah.
Care.
So this. Yeah.
Cheer. Yeah.
So I first learned about this when I was with a girl. The first one she saw was full, sorry, and scared. And that was my first idea that I shouldn't have been a mother. But
So
yeah. But
I would be
the thing
happy
is,
to.
the words that jump out to you is due to perceptual priming, right? You are primed to see certain words faster than others, just by your self-definition.
That's interesting. I feel like I was just simply scanning. I was just scanning. First thing I saw. First thing I saw.
Yeah. And those words are the ones that stick out to you for unknowable reasons.
Special pure.
So imagine this. I'm talking total horseshit here. So, but imagine if this verse is about perceptual priming, right? And then that some people who see lightness see the good words, and those full of darkness see the bad words.
Yeah. And you have.
Has it ever been the other way around, where somebody that you would perceive as bad actually saw the good words? Is that impossible with this experiment?
I've never had that happen. But you know,
is it impossible?
That I was talking about. So, yeah, I got trusting, I got cheerful, I got happy.
What is this called again?
This specifically, or
this thing?
This
thing right here.
Principle. I don't have it. It's just a meme that uses perceptual priming.
Oh, it's a meme. Oh, gotcha.
Well,
Okay.
I saw those words.
Like the principle that makes it work is called perceptual priming, and you'll find
perceptual priming. Gotcha.
Yes.
Well, it might be perceptual priming, but then again, I'm just looking at one half of the thing.
Two things just fused there. And I thought, what if that is the case?
Well, okay, and once again, perceptual priming comes from what is it called? Give me a second. I'm pulling it back up. The Safer-Whorf theorem. The Safer-Whorf hypothesis. So the Safer-Whorf hypothesis is how language is, by in its nature, it structures the way we interpret things. Like the language itself has a certain logic to it.
In all the years I've studied this, I have never heard of the Safer-Whorf. It is a function of neural nets, of associated networks, and priming. It's got nothing to do with that.
Well,
it's a priming effect. Perceptual priming.
Yeah. So I think that perceptual priming happens because of our personal experience within the Safer-Whorf. Like
like you could see a poster.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
A bunch of related posters, and then not realize that that's kind of primed you up, and then like your interpretation will be affected. That's got nothing to do with that.
And same thing with the advertisements. Like their end goal is essentially that, like, it's to prime you to consume their product.
This is semiotics again.
Yeah.
No, this is never mind. I'm gonna sit in the retard. So, yeah, I thought it was an interesting interpretation of that. I'll sit over here.
I'll sit.
Green
so
furiously.
In regards to why does it say single? So again, earlier I did.
In the NIV.
That's fine. So in the King James Version specifically, it uses the word single. Earlier we had a conversation about why you need to be careful about interpretation, because things mean different things over time. In 1600s, the word single means uncompounded, according to the Oxford English Dictionary. It says uncompounded, consisting of only one piece, layer apart, structurally not double. It is pure in its composition.
You may be onto something there.
Pure,
Maybe.
simple, uncompounded. The idea is that if your eyes are pure, if your eye is pure, if it is clear, right? That's the other word that's used in the Greek, clear. The word that they chose was single. This is what I mean. If you're going to look at a Bible and try to understand even what the translators meant, you have to understand when it was written, who it was written by, why it was written, and then go from that and try to interpret it based upon that lens of why it was culturally this. If you ever read a King James Bible, there are words that mean different things than what it says. You have to now take a 1600s Oxford English Dictionary and actually like look up what the words mean. And why Oxford English Dictionary? Because Oxford is the one that specifically standardized the English language that was being written inside of the Bible, inside of the King James Version. And it also was one of the 3 universities that it was specifically translated out of. So it has to be Oxford, it has to be a dictionary, it has to be 1600s to read this. And then only then do you even get what the interpreters meant. That's a translation thing. Yeah.
I have a question for you. I'm not going to suggest that you would have an opinion, but I'm just curious if you do. Where it says, the light of the body is the eye, if therefore thy eye be single, right? Mm-hmm. What would it be to have thine eye single? What would that actually pertain to?
Did I not just answer this question like thoroughly?
Oh shit, you did.
Yeah.
Back to the retard section.
Yes.
At least we're making headway in understanding, and like, yeah, I think this is kind of where like, it's very difficult to wrap such a universal implemented idea that it really is difficult to pin down how to accurately understand what the active role of interpretation, but also how our interpretation is always something that needs to be questioned. Like, it is not evident that our initial impression is always the experience.
Would a judgment also not be an interpretation? So I think,
yeah.
I think it practically enters the question, like, why are you making an interpretation in the first place?
Well, this is where I know it's my answer is that it's a neurological, biological function to preserve the physical. Like it's a self-preservation process.
We disagree on that because for me that's perception, which is that process. Yeah. And then there's like explanation. For example, you perceive the words, right? But you didn't explain them. I explained them. That was the interpretation.
Yeah.
But we differ on that. We're splitting hairs or whatever. Or I don't know. Is it debating semantics? Yeah, I think that's what we call it. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, and as you were saying, Rob.
Yeah, it's like you said. Why even have it? Why even have this conversation of interpretation? I mean, I would say it's either. Oh, what was it? Can you clarify?
No, I said, why would you be making an interpretation? What are you trying to find out by interpreting something? Why is it that important?
Why is it important to figure out an interpretation? Figure out interpretations in general.
In context, like the omens are you have to interpret the omens to determine if you're going to be assassinated.
No, I was thinking something else. What I was gonna say, I don't think it
constantly, but I don't think that's what we're talking about.
Look. Let me say this. I don't think it. I don't know if it connects to you, but maybe.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, is there reality or not a reality?
I mean,
so like some people's reality. Some people's reality might be, a murderer is a good person.
Earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, like a murderer is a good person in some people's reality, and a murderer is a bad person in some people's reality. But what is the reality of things? Okay, go on.
Oh, I got one for that.
I was just gonna say that.
Would you like me to answer the question?
Yeah, good for guess.
So according to Wikipedia, the following are all of the different types of interpretation that exist. So there's aesthetic interpretation, allegorical interpretation, dramatic interpretation, heritage, music, language, literary theory, literary criticism, oral interpretation. That's just the section marked culture. There's also law, which has authentic interpretation.
That's not what I asked, though.
Well, what you were asking was, why is it important? Why do you seek to interpret something? I'm trying to answer that question for you.
On a case-by-case basis.
I'm trying to answer that question for you.
Okay.
So
yeah.
the category of law is authentic interpretation, Financial Accounting Standards Board, the Interpretation Act, judicial interpretation, statutory interpretation. In the category of math and computing, there is model theory, computing, function, quantum mechanics, and interpretability. In media, there is Interpretation Center, Interpretation's 20th anniversary celebration, which is apparently an album. There's the Interpretation of Dreams, which is part of neuroscience. There are several, so there's philosophy interpretation, there's logic interpretation. This is in the category of philosophy. Die Interpretatione, which is a work by Aristotle. Exegesis, hermeneutics, semantics, interpretant, which is a concept in semiotics. And then there's in religion, there is biblical interpretation, Catholic canon law, journal, interpretation of knowledge, which is the Nag Hammadi book, and then the interpretation of tongues. And there's several other things. Now, why would it be important to interpret things? Well, this has to do with culture. You cannot have a culture unless you have the ability to interpret things. What is interpretation? Webster's defines it as the ability to explain or tell the meaning of something in present and understandable terms. So if I cannot explain to a child something, then I can't interpret something. Interpretation is literally to explain anything to any child that wants to know something. So this is your culture. You can't have a culture without interpretation. Law, you cannot have law without interpretation of that law. You cannot have math or computing without interpretation of the math and the computing. Neuroscience has interpretation in it, philosophy.
In that.
Well, it might.
Yeah. Interpretation matters if you as an individual are looking to have a cohesive experience with other living beings. Because if your interpretation conflicts with other interpretations,
that's getting it more into like something else, like social construction.
Well, what's like?
It is important because it is important that we can communicate. The ability to communicate is vital.
You don't have to communicate your interpretation.
No, I'm not saying.
I'm telling you. Actually, Cass, you just raised a really good point. Communication is vital, and I think this is kind of why this is the first subject that I decided to talk about, because we really are trying to communicate how are we interpreting things and why are we justifying our interpretations as our modality for existence. How are we justifying our conduct? How are we justifying the way we perceive and react to the felt experience that we have? Because once again, we can experience the same thing but interpret it in vastly different directions. We could witness a murder and one person could see a hero and another person could see a villain, but it all comes down to who is the one doing their interpretation and who is the one, like, what is the classification? What is the context? There's so much that is important to communicating about the idea of interpretation.